I've been researching Puerto Rico for a few weeks now, running numbers, watching videos, like all sorts of things. And there's something that most people focus on, which is, you know, what rent costs there, or what groceries cost a month there. And don't get me wrong, that stuff is useful. That's beyond useful. But no one, no one has talked about something that I've been waiting to hear, and it has nothing to do with how much money it costs to live there. The number I'm looking for is how much money it costs to get there. So when Lexi and I decided that we were really serious about making this move, and it wasn't just a casual conversation anymore, we realized that there were two things that we really had to like hash out, like that we needed to separate but focus on equally. One is the common one, which is what everybody talks about, which is how much it's going to cost you to live there. Grocery and that stuff like groceries, your rent, your insurance, utilities, stuff like that, right? Which, and then we had to figure out about how much money we needed. We felt like we needed to make a month to be able to live there. And episode 2 talked about that. So if you haven't seen it, I'll link it in the description below. But the other number that was very important was how much money it's going to cost to move there. Because you could be financially set, right? And say, okay, well, I have the money to live there, like we have the money we need to take to, once we get there, we'll be okay. Like, this is what we got. Cool. But the other thing is like, there's expenses that that a lot of people don't think about. And I went looking, and apparently nobody's talking about this. Like, things that it costs to move there. Like, what if you're moving furniture? And what if you're, you know, I don't know if you're shipping a car or something like that. I tell you, a big one for us is that Harley is a boxer. And if you don't know, boxers have, I don't know what it's called, but boxers have a short snout, and it's something brachio, something. I'll put it, when I edit this video, I'll put the name on it. But they cannot fly. Dogs like her, like boxers, pugs, and there's some other ones that they cannot fly in the cargo hold of a plane because they won't be able to breathe, and she won't make the trip. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? So those numbers, we had to like really figure out what it costs to move there, or we ain't going nowhere. All right, so let me go into detail what I think that what a moving fund is, because and this isn't official. That this is just Lexi and I going line by line down, what we think we need. But for the moving fund, so you figure, understand, if you don't know by now, that Puerto Rico is an island. So you can't just pack up a U-Haul and drive your shit across the Atlantic. You know what I mean? Like, if you're taking your stuff, it's gonna have to go on a cargo shit. So you got to get a U-Haul down to where the ship is, and then unload it. And I mean, at that point, you're talking about 14, 15 to 4 grand. And that, now some people like to, get rid of their stuff and just start all over, which I probably think is the easiest thing to do. But you have to weigh like what's going to be more expensive, like buying new stuff there or shipping what you have. So that's something that we got to continually compare prices for. The second thing is that you have to worry about deposits. You're gonna be you have deposits for electricity, deposits for water, deposit for gas if there is, and if you deposit for, you know, first month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit, stuff like that, like that we have to think about. And we're talking about 2 to 3 months maybe worth of deposits. We don't know now where we're at. It would depend on the type of building we're in and the area that we're in and stuff like that. But if the building has like backup generators and stuff for Wi-Fi and cisterns and for water and stuff like that, those deposits can be significant depending on the landlord, and the size of the apartment, or the house. So that just depends. The third thing is that you got to have money for setup, because if you're gonna ship things, things might not work out. Things might not get there. People, carriers lose shit all the time. I mean, I've never been on a ship, aside from the Staten Island ferry. Don't judge me, but I've never been on a ship or anything, so I don't know how that works. But I know airlines do stuff all the time. You know what I mean? So we have to figure that out. Because what happens if, like, you get there, you're going to a new place. So what happens if you get there, and then you figure out that, like, your couch doesn't fit through the door or something like that, or the space for your bedroom can't fit a king size or something. I don't know, something. But I just know that you have to plan for these things. If you're setting up, and then you might need like toiletries and pots and pans and stuff like that, so that you can cook and you can wash your butt and stuff like that, so that and those little things add up. Like those things add up a lot. So it's a matter of keeping that. And then the fourth thing is, number four is the overlap period. Now here's where I feel like it gets a lot of people, because you don't think about it. But let's say if you go over there and okay, so let's say you're living in North Carolina, right? You're still paying rent here. Like, we're still paying rent here, and then we're dropping, deposits, first month's, last month's, security, whatever, over in Puerto Rico. Like, even if it's for 30, even if it's for a month, even if it's for a month, like, is that something, do you think we should budget for? And I think so. Like, I think it's something that we really need to consider, because you're paying, all of that is going to hit at once. Like, you pay your rent, which is, our rent is $900 something here, and then you go over there, you're dropping the deposits and stuff, and like I said, that could be up to 2 or 3 months of deposits, and you don't know. So it's something that you have to prepare for. And then the last thing is that, again, Harley cannot fly in the cargo hold of a plane. Like, she has to be able to fly in the cabin. And from what I'm looking at, commercial flights just do not allow dogs her size to do that. So under any circumstances, so that means that we have to charter a flight. And that's looking like 15 to 25 grand just to do that. So, but more on that, I'm going to go into more detail on that. But those are the things, like I said, line by line, that you have to think about as far as, getting there. Item 5 is a scouting trip. And at first, I didn't think I really needed this, but I think it'd be silly not to. So we're not moving there until we go there first. I don't care how many YouTube videos I've seen. I don't care. I don't care how many YouTube videos I've seen. I don't care how many Facebook groups I'm in. I don't care. Like, we're gonna go there, physically walk the neighborhoods with our own eyes, and check out everything ourselves. Because what you see online, what people tell you when you get there, is going to be two different things. You know what I mean? So we want to make sure that we put boots on the ground and double check. And so that means that that's an investment that's going to cost money. Like you have to have a flight for a few weeks. I mean, for a few days, right? You have flights. You have to have hotels. You got to have rent a car so you can get around. But we're gonna walk the neighborhoods and see what it is, where we're actually gonna live, and make sure that it's somewhere that we want to be. And in the case that we get there and find out this is not, that ain't it, this place ain't it, then we would have just saved ourselves about 10 grand, for making a mistake. Because again, you don't want to get somewhere and then be like, okay, well, this place sucks. You know what I mean? So we're going to make sure that we went there. And then the last thing is an emergency fund. Now, I know I said having backup for backup for backup, but still, this one is like a straight emergency fund. Now, I don't think I have to really like explain this one too much, but I mean, you want to have, you want something like this, especially when you're planning a move to an island. Anywhere, but especially an island, you know what I mean? So you want to make sure that you have a real buffer and not something that's just like, oh, well, whatever's left over. Dude, if you're new here, welcome. Welcome to the channel. This is the Puerto Rico series, and we're documenting everything we can about our journey moving to the island. So hit subscribe for future episodes, and if you want to catch up, episode 1 is linked in the description, so you can start from the beginning. Appreciate you. Back to the vlog. So when you add all that up, shipping, deposits, moving Harley, the scouting trip, like all that stuff I just said. You add all that up. Now, I'm not going to throw a specific number up because everybody's situation is different. You know what I mean? Like, shipping depends on how much stuff you got. Your rent depends on where you're going, how big you're looking for, your timeline. Everything, the scouting trip, everything is different, So I'm not going to throw anything up. But I'll be honest with you. When Lexi and I looked at it, and the number we saw, like when we did that, like that shit was way more than I expected. Like way more than I expected. Way more than my pockets can handle right now. And maybe even later. I don't know. But Lexi looked at me and she said, okay, how long do we need? Which was really comforting because it wasn't, oh, this is too much or, we can't do it. She was like, okay, well, how long do we need? How long do we need as far as like a runway to get where we're going? And I think that's what ultimately matters, because I think that a lot of people do what I did. Like it was, the number I saw was way more than what I was expecting when I was just looking up, Puerto Rico videos on YouTube to thinking about moving. And I think a lot of people do, they look at like the cost of living and what it takes to live there once you get there, which is what I did. Like I was like, oh, okay, that's not too bad. It's not too far from where we are now. But then, it's the number that hit me was like, okay, like now how the hell do we get there? And when that time comes, when you make the plans and you say, okay, like we're ready to go, and then now you got to actually move, that's the number that I think screws up a lot of people. And I wasn't prepared for that. So like I said, it's way more than I expected. But you give yourself, a leeway. You give yourself a leeway to, how long it's going to take you to get there. to get that money. And, there's nothing that says, we got to move right now. So, and we're going to need all the damn time that we can get. That's where I want this video to land, because I think that there's something much bigger than the move fund going on. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of big plans fall apart for a lot of people, and it's not because the vision was wrong, the plan was wrong, or the destination was wrong. It's because when the time comes to figure out how to get you from here to there, that gap is bigger than a lot of people expect it to be. And again, this is not my first rodeo. So, I keep coming back to the fact that, He isn't in a rush. His timing is not our time. And maybe the fact that we're not ready to go, maybe the fact that, it's gonna take longer than we like, is because we got a lot more runway to build before we can actually go. And I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with that, because like I said, when it's time to go, and we are going, I don't want to, hope for the best. And I don't want to get out there and start scrambling. So we'll take the time that we need to take to make sure that this move is done right.